Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube page. So, my name is Harshit Gautam, and today I'm taking this session regarding list and its operations. So, we are going to discuss about what is list, okay, what are different functions and features of a list, what are different operations that we can perform with respect to a list. Okay, so let's start it. When we talk about a list, so it is a data type which is a collection of different items with different data types, right? So for example, you have to create a list, which will be your introduction. So you can create a list called as intro. Okay, now I'll put one equal symbol and I'll open square brackets. Okay, I'll open, okay, yeah, I'll do it here. So I'll write intro equals to a bracket. Now in this list, I can store my name. For example, I'll write Harshit. Then I'll write my age, 34. I'll write my COVID test report, which is false. It means negative. Okay. And then I'll put my phone number. I'll put my phone number. Okay. And then I can put n number of items in this list. And those items can be a different data type. Okay, so it's up to us that how many values we want to store in a list and what will be their data type. We are not forced to have only integers or only strings or only Boolean values. We can have n number of values. Now, if you focus to create this list, I have used square brackets. So square brackets are used to create a list, and each item, each element is separated by a comma. And this is how we create a list. When I will select and run this piece of code in my variable explorer, you can clearly see that there is a variable created called as intro, which is having data type of a list, and size is 4, which means I have 4 elements: Harshit, 34, false, and that phone number is all those elements. Okay. Now, when we talk about a list, we should know that list is a mutable, indexed, and ordered data type, right? So, for example, I said indexed. What does it mean? These elements are stored in a proper sequence, in an order of index position. So the first element will have index position of 0. Then the next element will have index position of 1. Third element, 2. And fourth element will have 4, like 3. That will be their index location. So that is a positive indexing. We can have negative indexing also. So last element will have -1 index location. Then we will keep decreasing the index location. So -1, we will decrease, it will become -2. Then -3. Then -4. So we can use either negative or positive index location. And if in one method we want to use both, we can use both of them. It's up our choice. Now, indexed and ordered, that is clear. But when it comes to mutable, what does it mean when we say that list is a mutable data type? When we say list is a mutable data type, we simply means we can manipulate this list once it is created. Here in my variable explorer, you can clearly see that there are 4 elements. If we want to add a 5th element in this list, we can do that. Maybe I want to remove an existing element from this list. I can do that also. And if I want to replace one existing item with a new item, I can do that also. For example, my COVID result was false. Now it's positive, it means true. So I can replace this false with true. Okay, if there is an increment in my age of 10 years, now in place of 34, I want 44. So I can do that. Okay, I can remove Harshit, I can add a new element. So all these operations we can do, and this is called as mutability of a list. So let's see all of them, how we can do this. First, I'll show you how I can introduce a new item in this list. So for example, I want to add my wife's name in this list. Okay, I want to add my wife's name in this list. So I'll write up, I'll use append method. There is a method called as append. And what is append method used for? What is append method used for? It is used to add a new element to the end of the list. Okay, so there are 4 elements, and fourth last element is my phone number. So after my phone number, if I want to add a new element, so that I can do using append method. So how I will do this? I'll simply write name of the list intro dot append. Okay, intro dot append, name of the list, and then dot append. And then I'll open and close parenthesis, and inside that parenthesis, I'll provide the new name. So for example, Priyanka is my wife. Okay, so I can add that element. Simple, right? When I will select and run, you will focus in my variable explorer. There is a new element added called as Priyanka at the end of the list. Okay, so this is how we can add a new element. But you might be thinking that what if I want to add a particular element not at the end, but in a particular location in this list? Maybe I want to add this new element at index location 1 or 2 or 3. So how to do that? Well, for that we will use insert method. We will be using insert method. So how to write that code? I'll write intro dot insert. Okay, and then inside parenthesis, first I'll provide index location at what I want to add the new element. Okay, so I want to add this intro at index location 2, for example. I want to add this at index location 2. So I'll do this using this insert method. So first I'll provide that index location. So that will be 2. I'll put an comma. I'll put a comma, and then I'll provide the new element. For example, I want to put my father's name at index location 2. So I'll write my father's name. Okay. So when I will run this, what will happen? Let me tell you what is current element at index location 2. That is false. So what will happen in place of this? Gajendra will be new element, and all those elements will be shifted towards right. Okay, they will get one increment in their index location, like that. Now we have added the new element at a particular index location. Okay, so this is how we can use append and insert methods. Now, for example, we want to update a new element. Okay, for example, I want to replace that false with true. So how to do that? Right, you might be thinking, if my report was false and now that is true, so how to do that? Let me tell you what we will do. We will write name of the list. Then I'll use square brackets. And what value I want to replace? False. What is index location of false? That is 3, because it is fourth element of the list and indexing starts from 0. So fourth element will have index location of 3. So I'll write 3 there. And simply using assignment operator equal, I'll put new value. I will put new value in this location. So new value will be true. Right. When I will select and run this, you will see that previous value has been replaced with the new value. I didn't add a new element, but I replaced an existing element of this list. Right. So I hope this is clear, like how to add a new element or how to update a new element. Now, let's see what if I want to remove a particular element. So to remove a particular element, like any element from the list, we use pop method. Which method we use? We use pop method. Now what pop will do, it will by default remove last element. Like append was adding new element to the end. Same way, by default, pop will remove the last element from the list. So for example, what is last element in this list? Right now, Priyanka is the last element, right? So if I will write intro dot pop and I'll write parenthesis. So what will happen? The last element from intro list will be removed. You can see Priyanka has been gone. If I will again run this, now last element is my phone number, that will be gone. Now there are only 4 elements left. Now, what if I want to remove a particular element, not the last element, but maybe at index location 1 or 2 or any index locations item I want to remove. So how to do that? Well, to do that, we will use same method, but we will pass one additional parameter inside that parenthesis. Okay, we will pass one parameter. And what will be that parameter? That will be index location of the item that we want to remove. So if we want to remove 34, we will like put index location of 34 inside that pop. What is index location of 34? That is 1. If I will write index.pop and parenthesis 1, then from this list intro, item at index location 1 will be popped. It means removed. Let me run and see the magic. 34 is gone. 34 is gone. So this is how we will be adding, removing, or updating elements in this list. Okay. Now, when we talk about list, there are much and more operations that we need to know. Right. For example, we have a list. Okay, we have a list. So I have intro and I have my intro. Okay, and that is another list. That is another list. And in this list, I have elements like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are the items I have. Okay, now when I want to merge all these items, what I want is I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the same sequence to be stored after this phone number. So after this phone number, there should be this item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hope you understood the problem. Now to do that, we can use append method. But you know what? There is a problem in using append method. Append will treat this entire list as one single element, and a list will be added after this phone number. Not the separate items will be stored from my intro. To do that, we will not use append, but we will use another method called as extend. We will use another method called as extend. So first I'll create those 2 lists. You can see in my variable explorer, lists have been created. And now what we will do, we will use extend method. Okay, I'll write intro dot extend, and then inside parenthesis, we will write the next list, which item we want to be added in the intro list. That is my intro. So what will happen? All the items of my intro will be picked one by one and they will be added in this intro list as one separate element. Okay, let me do that and please focus in my variable explorer. You can see there were 4 elements only in this intro and 5 elements of intro have been added in this after this phone number one by one. And now size of the intro is 9. 4 plus 5, 9. So I hope you got a clear idea about lists and what kind of operations we can do in list. Right. Now, that's not it, guys. I'll take one example using for loop and list, what kind of operations we can do. Let me show you. For example, we have a list. Let's take a new example. We have a list. I have LST as a list, and there I have a lot of numbers like numerical values. Random values I'll take, for example, 23, 45, 67, 34, and 45. Okay, 45 I have. I'll write another value as 48. Okay. Now, what I want to do is, without using any built-in function, I want to calculate average of this list. I want to calculate average of this list. So let's see how to do that. Let's break down the problem. When it comes to a list, we have numbers and what we want to do is we want to calculate average. Now we know for a fact that average is calculated using sum of all the values divided by number of or count of all the values. Okay, now to add all those values, we can use sum, but I only said that we don't have to use any built-in function, right? Same way to count numbers in this list, we can use len function. But I again said that we can't use any built-in function, right? So how to do that? Well, let me tell you. What I'll do, I'll create a variable called as total and I'll store 0 as initial value. Same way, I'll write count and again I'll have 0 as initial value. Now you might be thinking total is 0, count is 0. What we can do? Well, we can do a lot of things. See, we will use for loop. We will bring all these values and add in this total. Okay. So if all these values will be added in this total and initial value is also 0, so sum will be actual sum of all those values. Same way, if there are 5 values, there will be 5 iterations. If there are 5 iterations, it means there are 5 values in this list. And every iteration, in each iteration, we will give increment to this count. Okay. So I'll write for num in LST. I've created a iterator as num. We can use any iterator. Then I'll write sum, sorry, not sum, it's total plus equals to num. So we will be adding all those num values in this total. At the same time, I'll give increment to this count. So count plus equals to 1. Okay. And at last, when total and count will be calculated, we'll get outside of indentation of for loop so that we can calculate average. So we'll write print, what will be average? It will be total divided by count. When I will run this, we'll get the average, which is 43.4. So I hope you also understood what kind of other operations we can do with respect to list. So this is all with respect to list as of now. I hope everyone enjoyed the session and they got to learn something new. And I would like every single student to make sure to practice a lot with respect to list and for loop. Combination of list and for loop is very strong. Okay, you can crack a lot of interviews when it comes to technical round. Okay, practical round. So make sure that you follow these practices, and every day you write minimum 100 to 200 lines of Python program to practice. Okay, many students, they don't practice and they think I can't crack it. Jump into the water if you want to swim. Okay, all right. So thanks everyone for joining the session. I hope that you will be learning new things. Okay, best of luck. Thanks for joining the session. Thank you. Bye bye.